first principle I have for balancing purpose, profit, and personal visibility is to put purpose first and profit second. So when you feel like those two are competing, remember that not all revenue is aligned revenue. So in the beginning of Resilient Stories, I was encouraged to publish those perfectly put together pieces, the one that already had the end. And I found that while those stories are great and they work for so many people, there are other people who are still in the middle. They're in those messy chapters in between. And their voice deserves a place and a purpose to live too. And they're on a healing journey. And there's so many people like that. So I put purpose over traditional profit and started publishing those stories too. So the first thing that you could do this week to do that is to remember that when you're making a financial decision, ask yourself, which value of mine is this protecting? Next principle I have for balancing purpose, profit, and personal visibility is probably my most important one for you. And that is to remember congruence over performance. So whenever you're visible out there in the world, it should reflect who you really truly are. For example, my email tagline is "with love and slightly unhinged hope," and that is just quintessential me. If you knew me well, you would know that is how I view the world. It's not a marketing gimmick, it's really just the truth. And my challenge for you this week would be to go check out your LinkedIn bio or any of your professional bios and make sure it sounds like a human that actually resembles you wrote it. The next principle I have for balancing profit, purpose, and personal visibility is to remember that profit sustains your purpose. It doesn't override it. So that means for a good portion of the beginning part of when I was building Resilient Stories, I didn't take a profit. And that wasn't some crazy martyrdom thing. It was, there wasn't money to take. There was no money for me. And I had just been laid off. So this was a really challenging time. But what it led to was me experimenting and trying out income streams that I never even dreamt were going to matter. And they became such an integral part of the mission. They are people's favorite thing about Resilient Stories. So my challenge to you this week is, if all of your income streams dried up tomorrow, what crazy idea would you bring in the world and who would it help? And maybe just explore that a little bit. The next tip I have for balancing purpose, profit, and personal visibility is to make meaning operational. So what I mean by this is, our tagline at Resilient Stories is, where stories don't just live, they spark healing. And for us, that's not just a tagline. That is the emotional outcome we're looking for. So if a story reinforces shame or an old paradigm based around guilt or any kind of emotion like that, your story can definitely have those, but the outcome needs to be reinforcing things like love, healing, agency. And if they don't, then they're out. And that's just kind of our operational policy. So one thing you can do today as a leader is to ask yourself, what emotional outcome do I want from this decision? The final principle I have for you is to manage depth before reach. So what I like to do is find one thing that makes people really feel seen, heard, and connected. And then I take that one thing and I make it as good as I possibly can. And I make it so it can be repeatable and we can implement it again and again, whether that's an event structure or whether that is a story interview format, whatever it might be. Pick one thing in your business this week that is a strength of yours. Look at it and then pick one element, one thing that you can make even better and even stronger, and focus on that instead of growth. Focus on really getting into what makes someone really appreciative of what stands out about what you do. That element you pick can be around the onboarding process, the flow, maybe even just the story you tell about that product. You won't regret diving in a little deeper.
Don't forget to click share and help connect us with people who have resilient stories to tell.